Let's talk about the building a Utopia Tempest Trials, which accompanies the Nabata Banner. If you score the max of 50,000 points, you can earn up to 42 orbs, 11,000 feathers, and 80 sacred coins. This month we have Ephemera 1 Divine Codes and a Water Blessing for Legendary Camilla. Sacred Seals are Threat Attack and Res, and Speed of Defense Rain. The reward unit is going to be Nabata Hawkeye to represent his desert region. We'll talk about Hawkeye more later on. First up, new Sacred Seals. Threat Attack and Res 2 states at start of turn, inflict -4 attack and res on the foes within 2 spaces through their next actions. Threatened skills are just okay. They only work if the enemy is really close, so ideally you want to bait them to move into you on the enemy phase. However, 2-space range is tough to work with when a lot of debuffs have minimum 4-space ranges or just straight up infinite range, tagging the closest foe. The one plus for threatens is that they will hit all enemies in range. Generally not the best idea to be surrounded completely, but it's something. There was a time when I would say threatens were okay on the 1-move armor units. If you tried to bait an armor, a tier 3 dual threaten would give some player phase threat, and if you had an enemy phase build. Kinda the idea with the OG Surtur's Menace. Well, that hasn't been a thing for a while now, and this is only the tier 2 dual threaten. If anything, regular Menace C skills employ this tactic with double the range. Upgrade if you want, but I would not really recommend it. Next, Speed and Defense Rain 3, inflict -4 speed and defense on foes within 2 spaces during combat. This is our second Rain Sacred Seal. It's been a while since the Attack and Res version. Attack and Res Rain is a bit hard to find a user because most flying mages don't want to get hit anyway, and there aren't that many flying dragons. In comparison, a lot more faster physical damage flyers can use this seal. Feel free to double up on Rains or perhaps Rain Snap. This is just a straightforward in-combat debuff for the user. You can get a little creative with multiple Rains when it comes to team comps. Rains don't grant the most stats via debuffs, but they will affect all foes in range, which means you can help your allies in battle if you position well. Something like -8 speed and defense with 2 of these Rains is a good amount to help a teammate. If you want that utility option, Rain isn't a skill. It's a fairly solid Sacred Seal to swap in and out as needed. If you like flyers and you got the coins, I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. In update 8.1, we got the 78th Squad Assault, which rewards the Squad A's BZ Sacred Seal. At tier 3, it grants a flat +3 attack, speed, and res. Very simple stat booster. If you want attack and speed with +5 HP, Squad A's BS3 is a more general option. BZ could be maybe useful for something like Pegasus Flight with the extra speed and res. Now, upgrade if you got extra coins and if you want.
I am pleased to welcome visitors from distant lands to our festival. My daughter, Ygren. She must succeed me as Desert Guardian.
Before passing on the duties of Nabata's Desert Guardian to Ygren, Nabata Hawkeye is back for his first ult since he launched the game, almost a full 7 years ago. We have some fun things to talk about because Hawkeye is our 3rd heroic rare Lance Infantry. Literally since the launch year, we have not gotten multiple free-to-play Lance Infantry within the same year. There were only 5 other non-5-star options, and Ninja Saizo was released very recently. Hawkeye will be totally different stat-wise though. 45 HP, 47 attack, 22 speed, 41 defense, and 38 res. Hawkeye would be the slowest Lance Infantry in the game, and as far as free-to-play standards go, I would say he's min-maxed decently. No high 20s, low 30s awkwardness. Hawkeye's not even gonna pretend he's a fast boy. With the extra stats, 41 defense is good and 38 res is excellent for this class. We don't get many Lance fighters, but literally everyone dumps res. Fjorm has been the highest res Lancer for years, and thanks to a res super boon, Hawkeye can tie her at the max Dragonflyer limit. To go with these solid defensive stats, 45 HP is very healthy, and 47 attack is top notch, highest attack Lance Infantry, and right behind the top armor units. If you ever wanted a Lucas with an actual res stat, Nabata Hawkeye will fill that niche. Rare class type, rare stats, and Hawkeye also comes with a pretty neat inheritable weapon. Nabata Lance Plus has 14 might. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants the unit cannot be slowed by terrain status, and the Hexblade status to the user for 1 turn. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +4 to all stats and deal true damage on hit equal to 10% of unit's attack. Nabata Lance is the same as Tormar's Nabata Beacon Tome, except we exchanged Desperation for Hexblade. Maybe Hawkeye picked up some tricks from the dragons. Not a ton of ways to get Hexblade if you're on a budget, so this is a pretty good inheritable. Hawkeye won't be doubling often, but he's going to make his attacks count. If the foe has high defense but lower res, adaptive damage will target that lower stat. Plus for general stats with a stat refine would be nice for Hawkeye, and he gets extra true damage to use with his great base attack. Nabata Lance works for slow or fast units. It's a fairly offensive weapon, and it provides that cannot be slowed by terrain status. For the rest of his base kit, well, Hawkeye's kinda used up his unique base kit budget points. Ignis is a fine damage special, Defense Res Ideal 3 is on a couple other Grail units and still locked to 5-star rarity, Panic Ploy 3 hasn't been seen in 3 or so years, maybe this is a sign for potential Panic Ploy 4, it's also on other Grail units though. Generally speaking, this base kit is fine, more defense res for the slow tanky unit, and Hawkeye has pretty good base HP to try to make Panic Ploy work. Nothing new besides the Inheritable weapon though. If you plan to merge Hawkeye, he will get +1 HP, attack, and defense for the neutral nature. If you want to balance out his stats, the Res Super Boon can be nice, although you could also go for anything besides speed. In terms of free-to-play comparisons, the Lance Infantry non-5-star class is hilariously small. Hawkeye is most similar to a modern-day Lucas, except actually has a res stat. Ninja Saizo actually has higher defense, but again, Hawkeye is putting some of those points into way more res, and a good bit higher base HP as well. If you have full investment, Lucas will overtake in HP, speed, and defense, but is still 14 res behind. 30 speed is in that weird spot where technically it can be useful against really slow dudes, kinda like Hawkeye, but it also just gets outmatched by so many other units unless you build all speed skills. Regardless, if you don't want to max out Dragon Flowers or buy extra stats with money, new Hawkeye is the modern day slower pick. If you want faster units, Ninja Saizo comes with great defense at the cost of res. Summer Norn is also decently fast with a more balanced defense and res spread and higher HP. Among the heroic rail options, we now have a high speed and defense pick, a balanced jack of all trades option, and a now slow min-max dude. For the most part, Nabata Hawkeye would join that quicker post club. If you want to double, you can simply add quicker post to his base kit for a very simple enemy phase build. We can spice it up with Steady or Warding Breath to charge Ignis in 2 actions, however you could also just charge and then counter with 2 cooldown specials. Since Nabata Lance has Hexblade, Glimmer may be the better choice since targeting the lower defensive stat means increasing base damage. Higher base damage means higher Glimmer scaling, and lower defensive res will mean Moonbow is less effective. Hawkeye will get plus for all stats and a little bit extra true damage, so you could try to one-shot those squishier attackers. Nabata Lance does require him to start to turn your allies, and for enemy phase, you're going to need to stay by those allies as well. Because of this, if you want a different stat booster, you could use Bond or Form skills. Ideal is also okay because of these stats effects. If you have an open Sacred Seal, the new Squad Ace plus 5 HP stat boosters can be great for more Panic Ploy chances. You could also just use Sudden Panic in that B slot. For some other skills, we have that Distant Counter Sacred Seal if you want to run the classic DC plus Quicker Post build. Instead of QR, you could also use something like Wrath for extra damage, or maybe Dull Close to neutralize Field Boss. In the C slot, if you don't need Panic, an Oath buff is easy to use for stats, and you can run Attack Smoke for mixed phase debuffing. For some sustain, you could also use Noontime or Mystic Boost. For premium skills, we've gotten some interesting developments for slow infantry. Generally, you want a % DR skill. For example, if you want % DR and a follow-up attack, we got Quicker Post 4 or Brash 4 if you want to get aggressive. For the high cooldown special fans, Gambit is an option. Guard 4 and LC Discipline 4 work as well. New from the banner is Bulwark 4. That gives some healing after each fight, and it has % DR for brave attacks. If you pick one of these, that would usually lock Hawkeye out of DR piercing from say Special Spiral 4 or Temple 4. However, thanks to Winter Dimitri, no quarter gives a lot of units some hope since it has built-in DR Pierce. For the build on the left, normally I would say we try to lean into a one-shot counterattack setup using Tempo 4. There's no attack and defense Tempo 4, but luckily, due to Hexblade, technically you could use attack and res Tempo. If you wanted a little bit of extra damage, you could run Bonfire or Iceberg with Times Pulse or Infantry Pulse. Hawkeye has good base HP if you want to help out your team. You then can add a Breath Sacred Seal. This lets Hawkeye charge 3 cooldown specials from taking 1 hit, and then you counterattack with 50% DR Pierce. However, if you use no quarter, you can use the same cooldown setup, but now slot in a % DRB skill like Bulwark or Guard 4. You're gonna lose no guard, but that's some nice flexibility. Let's now talk about Arcane Qian. This weapon gives Sling, Breath type cooldown if the initiator moves at least 1 space, and of course a free follow-up attack plus a follow-up denial. For general gameplay, this gives Hawkeye a lot of freedom. You can go 4 cooldown 8th Miracle with Gambit, Special Spiral without no quarter, any of the % DR skills. Like our build on the left, you can charge any 3 cooldown specials in 1 action potentially. Since this is our slang weapon, let's discuss Pulse Up from the new Igren. For a unit like Hawkeye, if you want to build enemy phase or just full tank in general, then Pulse Up can add a little bit of future threat. For every turn that passes, Hawkeye is just gonna passively charge up some big damage specials, for example like No Quarter, Ignis, or jump on the AoE special train like his daughter. It's not gonna be consistent for back-to-back fighting, but you kinda just become a threat simply due to eventually having a special ready. I think it could be fun. Now, for some other skills, we got a free Bracing Stance 3 via Ephemera recently. Distant Counter is always on the table, and Nabata Lance has 2 statuses for Prime 4. Fireflip Boost has +5 HP with Guard potential, and Unity will work for debuffs. In the C slot, you could run Oath 4, Menace, or maybe Attack or Panic Smoke 4 if you go with that Res Super Boon, and Stat Refine, maybe Ploy 4. If you want to get 3 movement for Nabata Lance without Harmonic Egram, then you could do Tempest or Assault Troop. If you don't know what stats you want, why not boost all of them with Bonus Doubler? For weapons, Saizo's Kumo Naginata Brave Lance will be just fine for a 47 base attack unit. Overall, Nabata Hawkeye does have some fun build options. I think Nabata Lance Plus can lean into a burst weapon playstyle since trying to invest in follow-up attacks from 22 base speed is kinda iffy. That said, for general gameplay, something like Arcane Chiang is amazing to have, and infantry have a lot of skills to synergize with cooldown perks. The introduction of No Quarter is very powerful. Hopefully it doesn't stay locked to one season unit for long. An alternative to No Quarter is an AoE special with Pulse Up and Tempo 4. This is the build the new Egren uses, although Hawkeye will be more limited in special uptime. However, this can work with Nabata Lance's Hexblade because adaptive damage also applies to area effect specials. It might be a one-time per battle trick, but hey, Hawkeye will make it count. Kinda like a good old Berserker getting a nasty, well-timed crit. All around, decent Tempest Trials. Speed and Defense Rain is a really interesting Sacred Seal. It can offer better combat for the user, and you can help your allies if you position well. Feel free to stack it with the C-Scale version. As for Nabata Hawkeye, like I said earlier, we literally have not gotten 2 free-to-play Lance Infantry within a year's time span since year 1. Mainly because since year 1, there's only been one other option with Summer Norn until Ninja Saizo appeared last November. Hawkeye will drop speed entirely, and for a free-to-play unit, he's about as min-max as you can ask for. Not the craziest defense or res, but Hawkeye has good base HP and a monster attack stat. Nabata Lance Plus offers that Hexblade status, and is generally a decent offensive weapon for anyone. Plus 4 stats, little bit of balanced true damage, you can use it on slow or fast units. You can also get to ignore those terrain movement penalties. With an awesome outfit and artwork plus something a little different gameplay wise, Nabata Hawkeye is a good free unit. Will he be able to tank all the crazy new nukers out there? Well, even the 5-star units are having trouble with that. Still, I appreciate more Lance Infantry. We're up to 6 Demo and Heroic Row options now. Only a little more to go to catch up to the 31 Axe Fighters and 36 Swordmaster wannabes. That's all I got for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Nabata Hawkeye and go get those Tempest rewards. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.